I would have gotten a bookkeeper, and the bookkeeper would have looked at me and said, close the business now. Welcome to 10 Minute Travels. With me, as always, is Shane Patrick.
With me, as always, is Phil Freeman. Today, we're going to be talking with Phil about the inception of MotoQuest.
Let's get right to it, shall we?
So, what's next?
What's next, Shane? I would like to say that, it's an amazing story, but the story isn't over. I started this as a dream, and it grew to a point where I would never have imagined, but I don't believe we're done. I mean, now that we're in a pandemic and things have slowed down and there's some repose to kind of take it all in, we all know that the economy is going to start again. So when you say next, I don't even know if I'm done with the first stage. I think it's just a matter of seeing this thing through, making it economically viable, making it healthy, bringing smiles to people. I'm 50. I've got another 15 to 20 years I could do this if I'm allowed to be around on this earth. And I'm engaged with the people that come on these trips. I love spending my time with them. And I think that's what energizes me. My dad sent me a Forbes article about entrepreneurs. And one of the motivations for them was not money. It was just starting something. And I think that's what gets me going. And I love all the moving parts. I love the staff that we have with us. I enjoy working with my partners to try to scheme to make this better. I always enjoy talking with riders that have been on my trips, and just we're friends after the trip. If you travel with somebody on a motorcycle, you're not just traveling with them. You're engaged 100%, and you've had exposure to a point where it's dangerous what you're doing. And there's this camaraderie, this cement connection that you will always have. And you become friends fast because you've just seen a lot together. And so I just keep tabs with them, and it's part business, it's part passion, but really it's fun to have this community that has kind of sprouted out around. And when I started this thing as Alaska Rider Tours, I didn't see that coming. I just kept my head down and wanted to figure out how to get one person to go on one of my trips. Now that there's been thousands, and I get, an email once in a while or a letter from one of them to say, "Hey, Phil, thanks for making this possible for me to have such a great memory." That's where the payment is. And so if you say there's a next stage, the stage is the same. Just get through this pandemic and offer this service and make sure that people get a chance to, because one of my goals after having traveled so much is to get those dang Americans out there and see the real world. That's one of my big goals. And I am pretty proud that I've been able to enable a lot of people to do that. And when you're hanging out with a demographic that 12 out of 16 of the participants are in marriages of 40 years or more, it's a demographic like no other. I would rather spend my time with these people. So the payment's there. So just this next stage is just to keep it going.
Well, if you want to help Americans travel, see the real world outside, different than a Holiday Inn or whatever, you have plenty to do. And I look forward to keeping tabs on the progress of that.
Yeah, as we record this, we're basically, I think, as in the hardest point of a pandemic that comes around every 100 years.
This is dates don't matter or whatever, but to think about the healthcare professionals are getting the second batch, the second dose of their vaccine right now. So this is the beginning of the upswing from the bottom, probably, hopefully. And I reckon there are a lot of people who are going to want to travel very soon. And this will, assuage their fears a little bit and get the ball rolling again.
A lot of times on our shows, we'll talk about, travel tips or anything like that that we have learned or our guests have learned that they talk about that you could put in your back pocket and it might be useful in the future. And if I wanted to leave a listener with something about this episode, I would like to encourage you to ride a motorcycle. And in order to do so, let's say you've never done that, go find a local motorcycle endorsed school, license endorsed. So there are places that you can spend a weekend and you're out on a tarmac, you have instructors, and then when you're done with the class, you get your motorcycle license. That is the first step that I encourage everyone to do. And then the next one is go for a week on a motorcycle. Not like our friend Josh, who went on a 6-week motorcycle trip to Patagonia as his very first trip. But you could do that too. But take it to the next level and spend at least 1 week traveling by motorcycle and don't know exactly where you're going to go. And just do that. And tell me about your 4th day. I would be happy to hear about it because that, I feel, is where the magic is. That there's a sense of freedom. And when you travel by motorcycle, there really is nothing like it. And I would like to encourage anybody to do that because life is short. You never know what's going around the corner. And you might as well enjoy, some fresh air at 60 miles an hour or even 30, and just try it. You won't be disappointed. It's pretty amazing.
And if you already know how to do those sorts of things, do it again. Plan another one. There's plenty of places you haven't ridden, and they're all wonderful. And if that's not your thing, ride a skateboard. Do something totally different. It's good for you. It's good for our brains. It's good for our minds. Gets the endorphins going. Adventure travel.
Yeah. And one more thing, if you're ever going to start a business, I think the best thing you could do is probably do what I did and just be ignorant. Because if I knew what I was getting into, I'm pretty sure I would never have done it. It just doesn't pencil. But it's still not done yet. And my passion is still there. But I would have gotten a bookkeeper, and the bookkeeper would have looked at me and said, close the business now.
Yeah, good thing you waited to hire one of those people. Like, that's in your face reality right there of you couldn't afford to buy those fucking racks, so you did what you could. It turned out to be not a feasible idea, but just trying. Most people have no idea. Most people work for someone else and have always worked for someone else. They go, they do their job, they work hard, they get a paycheck. The place makes money, they get a paycheck. The place doesn't make money, they get a paycheck. When you're the one creating the paycheck, that is a whole different level of stuff.
Yeah, you've just bought yourself some sleepless nights. I've talked to other entrepreneurs where they just killed it and now they're farting in the silk. And I listen to their story and I think they never really suffered. What do they know? And then I think, why did I choose this one and not become, just...
Well, that's the thing, right? Inspiration strikes. And probably most of those people, even the ones that fell upstairs, they were doing the same thing you were doing. They were following a passion. They just happened to hit. I had a class in college where we helped entrepreneurs struggle through the SBA loan application
super fun. I'd rather swallow a bunch of tacks.
Yeah. It was a good class. We learned a lot. And, there were 7 or 10 different entrepreneurs, and there were 4 of us that worked with this one guy who his deal was he invented or came up with the idea of extruded plastic garages. So he was going to build this big printer essentially and print garages on site. And this was mid 90s, way before 3D printers were a thing, but plastic extrusion already existed. And he had this idea of a mold that, you pour the hot plastic over and it hardens up, and then there's a garage there. And, we went through all the numbers and and basically what we learned, or what we thought we knew, being these college kids that had all these books and no real experience behind us, was that this won't work because, your market is essentially the people who live in trailer homes, trailer parks. They don't have garages. They don't want garages, or they can't afford them anyway. And so we did all this math, and then we went to our professor and said, "Hey, can you check our math?" And he said, "Yep, this all looks right. What are you going to do about it?" And we said, what are we supposed to do? And your job is to go tell that guy that it's not going to work. And so we did. We gave him a presentation, kicked his dream, and he stormed out of there angry, thought we were fools. We felt terrible. I don't know where that guy is today, but I think about him every once in a blue moon, and just how, that must not have felt great for us to do that to his dream and refuse to help him with the SBA application because it didn't pencil out. And there's so much stuff that didn't pencil out that is the world now, things that if people would have listened to people like me, there'd be a lot less stuff invented, created, experienced, whatever.
You kind of need the dreamer, but you also need to have the foot on the ground. And one can't go without the other. And I try to describe my relationship with our managing partner to another person. I said, I am the helium balloon and he is the anvil.
As long as you stay away from water, it should be okay. That was Phil Freeman telling us about the inception of MotoQuest. If you want to learn more about that or anything else we talk about at 10 Minute Travels, please check us out at 10minutetravels.com.
And we want to remind you to make sure that your sense of humor matches your sense of adventure.